Now, I've been reading the Westconnex Rozelle interchange traffic and transport and access management subplan, which has been provided by John Holland and CPB contractors. And there's a number of documents that are referenced in this, which are Austroads guides. And I've had a look at one of them, and now I'm having a look at a second one, which is the Guide to Road Safety, Part 1. And in the document that's been presented by John Holland to the Minister, I guess, the document's dated 2009. Unfortunately, when you go to the Austroads website, you very quickly discover that Edition 2 was published in October 2009, Edition 3 came out in February 2013, and 3.1 came out in August 2018. So the document is a long way behind. And the edition published in 2013, in this edition, the safe system content has been updated throughout. So obviously the safe system presumably didn't exist in the prior version, the 2009 version, the version which has been used by John Holland in the preparation of their document. So we then go into the Guide to Road Safety, and it says that the principles have been acknowledged in successive national road safety strategies and action plans since 2003 as the guiding principles for road safety programs in Australia. So the safe systems approach is not new, and in fact in one of the other documents referenced by this plan, it says it's been in place for a decade now. And if we look at the principles here, a safe system should provide road users with positive guidance in order to safely negotiate the road transport system. Now, do we have that in the diversions put in place around the Rozelle interchange? And I'd have to say, absolutely not. As a cyclist, haven't been through there once, no, does not exist. Sorry, doesn't make the grade. Clear direction regarding appropriate speed for the situation. Again, in a previous video, I just covered the intersection of Balmain Road and Lilyfield Road. And no, I don't think the speed of cars going into that intersection along Lilyfield Road is appropriate, given the changes that have been made to provide a diversion to cyclists where they now can turn right. Space to recover from mistakes when mistakes do occur. No, I don't think that's on the path at all. The paths have been put in are absolutely littered with obstructions, and there is no space to recover from mistakes. So it doesn't make the grade there either. Protection from serious injury or death when crashes do occur. No, not there. And on it goes, and you can see, there's more good stuff in the updated version of the document. The new version, which they should have been using to prepare the traffic and transport and access management subplan document, blah, blah, blah. So the document does, in fact, cover the road agency's duty of care. Saying that the road agencies do owe all road users, doesn't say just drivers, all road users a duty of care, and must do what is reasonable to be aware of deficiencies in the road transport system, to assess and prioritise them, and have a system for remedying them. Remediating is what I normally say, not remedying. So hopefully by doing this video, it's pointing out that there are deficiencies, and the road agencies can't say, oh, we didn't know about that. Well, I'm telling you now, guys, you've got deficiencies. Road agencies are obliged to have in place reasonable programs of inspection to allow them to identify problems with their roads. And the question here is, well, what inspection has taken place of the diversions that have been put in place around the Rozelle interchange? Because certainly the inspection I did as a layman said it doesn't make the grade. Doesn't meet the standards laid down in these Austroad guides. So, why was that allowed to proceed? Road agencies must have in place arrangements to make sure that deficiencies which pose a risk to road users are dealt with in a reasonable time, having regard to available resources. Okay, yeah, and that's fair enough. I mean, there is not an unlimited budget and unlimited manpower to take care of these things, but you look at the Rozelle interchange, what's it costing? The whole Westconnex is a multi-billion-dollar program of works, and this particular part of it, this project, is a couple of billion. So it's pretty hard for them to say, yeah, available resources are nil. No, they're not. This thing's got money pouring out of the sky onto it. Note that the requirement of duty of care does not demand that there be no deficiencies in the road transport system. Yeah, fair enough. Only the road agency will do it as reasonable to monitor and remedy problems. And so what is reasonable here, I guess, for Transport for New South Wales or the RMS or whoever the governing body is, to make sure that this is in fact being monitored and it is being remediated. I mean, there's very clear risks in these diversions. Are they just going to sit there and say, oh, we'll just accept those risks for the duration of the project, or are they actually planning to go and do something about it? And the court decisions recognise that the resources available to an agency, including the availability of material and skilled labour, may limit how quickly repairs can be made and how work is to be prioritised. And yep, that's fair enough. What gets me here though is this project has been going along for quite some time. This is not new. This is not like well, I'll give you an example. A couple of years ago, we're going down to Bateman's Bay. It's normally a 4-hour drive. Took us 7 hours because there was a really serious head-on crash an hour or two out of Bateman's. And the police and emergency services, etc., decided they'd close the road in both directions. And there was an emergency diversion put in for everyone going south, or going north, obviously. And we got diverted into state forest. We're on gravel tracks and sand. And, you know, it was like a 20-kilometre diversion that we had to go up and down all these bloody fire trails to get around the crash site. And you know, they were able to respond and put that diversion in place within half an hour of turning up at the crash site. This is not a crash which happened half an hour ago. This has been in train for years, and yet the diversion has opened with all these hazards. It just boggles the mind that this could not have been taken care of. There's been all this time. There's been, you know, plenty of money to deal with this stuff, and it's just been, I don't know, can's been kicked down the road and it's been too late. Just has to open. Yeah, we're going to open and just accept the risks. Yeah, is that really a sensible thing to do? I mean, would you open the tram system to traffic, for instance, the light rail, if there were serious safety deficiencies with the system, that people could be electrocuted or the brakes didn't work or, you know, whatever? Would they accept, oh yeah, that's all right, we're just going to, you know, stick people on and off we go, and, you know, we'll be right. Okay, if this results in a delay to remedying a situation which is hazardous for road users, the road agency should consider other alternatives, such as using signs to alert road users of the hazard, or in extreme cases, close to the road. Well, yep, I guess that's your get out of jail free card. Okay. Now, what I then did is I was reading further through this document by John Holland, and we get to page 75. I mean, I guess they think no one ever reads through these things. I mean, who's going to read 100 pages of transport plan? You have to be crazy. And it says here very clearly, JHCPB would manage cyclist wayfinding by temporary routes that comply with the requirements, and this is important, AS 1742 Part 9, bicycle facilities, Austroads Guides Traffic Management Part 10, and AS 1743 road sign specifications. Well, you know, I've gone and got myself an Austroads log-on. It's free. You just put in your email address and create a password, and boom, you're in. And you can download all these documents yourself, and it's a really good document management system. Just as an aside here, it was over 15 years ago, I was working for the railways, and I put in a document management system for the engineers, the standards engineers, who wrote all the documentation for all the engineers across the state, the civil engineers, electrical, signal, what was the other one? There were like 5 branches, I think. And if you went and visited an engineer out in the field in their donga out in, I don't know, Grafton or something, didn't matter what they were doing, whether it was a project or business as usual work, behind them, you know, like here with my shelving system, there'd be this shelf that would run pretty much the length of the donga, and on it would be all these lever arch files, you know, not the A4 size, but the, what are they, Quattro or something like that, or smaller. And they were all the binders which held the standards documentation, and they ran for 30 linear feet or something like that. And what happened is, on a regular basis, the standards engineers back in Sydney would go, oh, you know, paragraph 72 on page 115 needs to be updated to say, you know, it's got to be 115 volt traction rather than 130 volt or something like that. They might change one word, they might change a line, they might change a paragraph, or what, they might change a diagram. And hundreds of pages of this would have to be printed, of that one page, they'd pin hundreds of copies, And someone would sit there and stuff these yellow internal mail envelopes with these updated documents, and then put a sticker on it or write, Joe Blow, signal engineer, Grafton, and into the internal mail it would go. And then Joe Blow gets this thing in the mail, and they would have to go through their binders and take out the old page, put in the new page. And they'd be pretty much sacked if they didn't do this, because this was absolutely critical engineering safety documentation. And if you did designs or you did work according to out-of-date documentation, that was it. Because people would die. This could cause derailments, it could cause crashes, it could, all sorts of mayhem. You could electrocute people. This was serious stuff, and it had to be right. So we put in this internal document management system, which allowed the standards guys to write the stuff in Word, publish it as PDFs. It was all version controlled. All the engineers out in the field got a log on, and they could reference the latest documentation online, and they could throw away, their 30 feet of stuff. It could all go in the bin. And we opened it up to the outside world as well. So, if you were and I wanted to come in and do some contract electrical work, you could be given a log on and be given access to the appropriate electrical standards to do your piece of work, and then you could stay up to date with those standards as the project went on, because sure as eggs, during the life of the project, the standards would change, and you'd have to make sure you were keeping up with them. Otherwise, that was it, you're out. So I find it fascinating with this Austroads stuff that I'm signed up now. I'm getting emails saying, we've got a webinar on, best way to lay tarmac in Ipswich in March, and here's an update to document standard AS1742. Guess what? It's been superseded. There's now a new standard out, and in this case, these documents they're referencing here have been superseded. And so if we go on and have a look, because I went and did a search, I went, let's look for AS1742, and up comes this thing. This is all I could find. Mapping Comparison, Guide to Temporary Traffic Management Australian Standard. And it clearly says here, the document maps the content from the superseded AS1742.3, 2009, that's the one they're talking about. 2009 seemed to be a good year for documents, didn't it? To either the revised standard, AS1742.3, 2019, or Austroads Guide to Temporary Traffic Management. And temporary traffic management, this guide is an important one because this only came out in December last year, as I've just found. But John Holland and their friends don't seem to have heard of this document. Okay, so let's do a little bit of digging. And when we look at the mapping comparison here, so the 2019 update of AS1742.3 by Standards Australia, by Standards Australia, this is the real deal. This is, Ridgy Didge, resulted in the removal of content from the 2009 standard that was determined to be guidance material. This guidance material has been substantially transferred into the Austroads Guide to Temporary Traffic Management. Okay, that's all good. Blah, blah, blah. Now, what did they actually do with it? If we go into this mapping comparison, and we have a look at section 2.3.7, provision for pedestrians and cyclists. This is the bit I'm interested in. What does it say? Provisions for vulnerable road users have been substantially expanded throughout the entire AGTTM to ensure that adequate consideration is made for all these road user groups. AGTTM Part 2 also includes numerous requirements for the planning stage to consider the needs of pedestrians and cyclists. Now, people I've spoken to that are involved in the planning stage or got invited to comment, etc. Well, they weren't too impressed with it, I guess is the best thing to say. And having had having done the ride through of one of the diversions, I haven't done the full up Gordon Street down Victoria Road. I haven't done that one, but I've done the one through going up Balmain Road and around the back way there. And I can say has adequate consideration been made for these road user groups? No. But anyway, we go on and look, we now have this wonderful new guide or research report, whatever you call it, AP 492-15, bicycle wayfinding. And you would think bicycle wayfinding, yeah, we're doing a diversion for cyclists. So what do we need? Wayfinding. I mean, that's a critical thing. It's what I've been banging on about in the other video. The wayfinding on the diversion is just ludicrously bad. It is amateur hour from start to finish. And if we go into the contents, what do we see? All sorts of really good stuff about key sign issues. It's all there. Use of colour, typeface, lettering, sign types, route hierarchy, use of symbols, blah, blah, blah. Sign mounting options, detour signs. It's all there. It's spelled out in black and white. In fact, some of it's even in colour. It's a beautiful, detailed document, and they haven't used it. When they might say they've used it, but I can't see how, because if we go back to the document from John Holland, it says here in black and white that they're using another document, a superseded document. So I don't quite get what's going on, and I don't get why these superseded documents are being used, because as I said, I'm now an Austroads member. I'm getting these updates via email, it's bloody spam on a regular basis saying, here's these updates to these documents, use these instead, or here's new documents. It's great. Beats the hell out of me. Anyway, I'm going to have to go back through and do another ride through now that I've read these documents, and see if I can do some analysis on some of the really poor pieces of work, and go back and say, well, how does this meet this bicycle wayfinding guide, APR 492-15. I mean, I don't think I'll be quoting that too often, but the work's been done to provide excellent documentation to make life easy, to produce good work. It's all there on the internet. It's free. Why is the subplan completely ignore it?